right, welcome to the Murfreesboro City Council meeting. It is November 6th, 2025, and Councilmember Sean Wright has our prayer and our pledge.
Awesome. All right, everybody, bow your heads. Heavenly Father, thank you for being with us as we make decisions for the city tonight. Please be with those with spoken and unspoken prayers around the world. As we enter the holiday season, please remember let people know the reason for the season and to be thankful for the family they spend around Thanksgiving. It is your name I pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get into our ceremonial items, yesterday we had the breaking or the start of the season for the Salvation Army Red Kettle, ringing of the bells, and so there was a big, great celebration yesterday. You had Mitchell Nilsson Choir who was here, but it's that time of the year where you'll see many of the ringers who will be out in front of lots of our establishments in Murfreesboro. And I think the number they said yesterday, 95% of everything that's put into those kettles goes back into your community. So we want to make sure that we encourage people to do what Murfreesboro always does, and that's help those who are in need. All right, did we have anyone registered for public comment tonight?
No, sir.
All right, we have one ceremonial item. We have a big group here tonight, lots of individual accomplishments, but I'm sure if you ask the coach, the team is greater than the individual, and we had a lot of team accomplishments this year as well. So I'm going to find a way to do. Let's ask the girls team to come over first. And coach, you're welcome to come as well. Y'all come stand behind here. So tonight we've got two great teams from Central that we want to recognize. You have the champions of the TSSAA Middle School Sectionals, AA Section 2, and the meet was in Chattanooga. And we had individual first place finishes from Adeline King. She not only finished first at the Mountain Lion Jamboree in Sewanee, she also finished first at the TSSAA Middle School Sectional AA Section 2 meet varsity race in Chattanooga. So I want to bring them in and give them a round of applause. And so let's also, ladies, if y'all want to go back over there, we'll bring the boys team up. So, guys, if y'all come up. So as they're coming up, they had a great season as well. Second place at the TSSAA State Championships in Clarksville. They were champions of the TSSAA Middle School Sectionals AA Section 2 meet in Chattanooga. In addition, this is very successful. First place is as a team at the following meets: the Donna S. Tucker Memorial Middle School Invitational in Lafayette, the Mid-State Cross Country Championships in Hermitage, the Mid-State Association Midweek Meet in Burns, the Rutherford County Middle School Championship in Rockville. Both the JV and the varsity teams won that. Also, individual first place finishes: Miles Pinson, the Mid-State Association Midweek Meet in Burns, Carson Nipper, the Rutherford County Middle School Championship JV race at Rockville, Miles Pinson, the TSSAA Middle School Sectionals AA Section 2 meet varsity race at Chattanooga, Baird Lane, Baird Lane, the TSSAA Middle School Sectionals AA Section 2 meet JV race in Chattanooga. So let's give these young men a round of applause. Hey, and no pressure. but we're going to expect to see y'all back here next year. So, hey, and I will say this, my boys both ran in cross country, and we showed them an article that, and I think this still stands true, that though there are more high school valedictorians who ran cross country than any other sport in high school, and it's because of cross country runners don't quit, they persevere, and they work really hard. So congratulations, and we hopefully look forward to seeing y'all many years to come. Let's give them another round of applause.
Some more?
And I'm sure y'all would love to stay for our meeting, but y'all are welcome to enjoy the rest of your Thursday night. So thank you so much. We also have several members of Leadership Rutherford here. So if y'all don't mind standing up, who are here with Leadership Rutherford. All right, thank y'all. And I hate to tell y'all, y'all have picked the longest meeting so far that we've had this year. So great choice tonight. We're happy you are here. All right, let's move to the consent agenda. You have 13 items on your consent agenda. Is there anything that needs to be removed from the consent agenda for discussion? Seeing none, can I get a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Saberwater?
Aye.
Ms. Gales Harris?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shacklett?
Aye.
Mr. Wade?
Aye.
Mr. Wright?
Aye.
Mayor McFarland?
Aye. All right, you have the city council meeting minutes. Are there any additions or deletions to the minutes?
If there are none, I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Saberwater?
Aye.
Ms. Gales Harris?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shacklett?
Aye.
Mr. Wade?
Aye.
Mr. Wright?
Aye.
Mayor McFarland?
Aye. All right, let's move to old business. You have ordinance 25033, amending Chapter 15 of the City Code. This is second and final reading. Any questions for Director Jones? Questions about his golf game?
Congratulations on the hole in one.
Can we get a motion?
So moved.
Second? Second. All right, motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Saberwater?
Aye.
Ms. Gales Harris?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shacklett?
Aye.
Mr. Wade?
Aye.
Mr. Wright?
Aye.
Mayor McFarland?
Aye. All right, we'll move to new business. You have Resolution 25R30, Schools Fiscal Year 26 Budget Amendment Number 3.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Hope you're having a good day today. Tonight, I am presenting a resolution for your approval to recognize several new grant funds and corresponding expenditures, as well as a transfer of existing funds per state guidelines. The new grant revenues include a $40,000 grant for increasing opportunities with our pre-K students, a $10,600 grant from the City Schools Foundation for our robotics program and for our district special populations of gifted and ESL students, a reallocation of a $10,000 grant from Conference USA for our music program, and $8,250 in various donations for our students who are experiencing homelessness. Additionally, this resolution recognizes an additional $36,000 in state funds and an increase in our projected local option sales tax revenue by $248,000. Finally, it transfers $17,000 from our Board of Education category to a support health category per state guidance, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Director Duke, Dr. Duke? Dr. Director Duke.
Dr. Director, I'll take it. Just don't ask me about golf game and we're good to go.
If there are no questions, I'll move for approval.
Motion second, please call the roll.
Ms. Saberwater?
Aye.
Ms. Gales Harris?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shacklett? Mr. Wade? Mr. Wright?
Aye.
Mayor McFarland?
Aye. Thank you, Trey. All right, let's move to Resolution 25R32, authorizing application for VCIF grant. Karen Lampert is going to present this. Karen.
Good evening. I'm here on behalf of Murfreesboro Police Department asking council to approve a resolution that would allow MPD's application for $1.5 million in VCIF funding, which is violent crime intervention funds that are being awarded by the state. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Motion second, please call the roll.
Ms. Saberwater?
Excuse me. Aye.
Ms. Gales Harris?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shacklett? Mr. Wade? Mr. Wright? Mayor McFarland?
Aye. Thank you, Karen. All right, let's move to land use matters. We have a plan of services annexation and zoning for property along Old Salem Road. Mr. Blomley.
Thank you, and good evening, Mayor McFarland and City Council members. Our first public hearing tonight is with regards to the annexation of 22.5 acres located along both the south and north sides of Old Salem Road. You can see the larger parcel along the south side of Old Salem Road is what was actually initially requested. It's 19.5 acres. And then you can see a little bit to the west at the intersection of Old Salem and Veterans, there are 3 parcels that the city owns that are remnant parcels, and those have been added into the annexation study to bring those into our jurisdiction as well. We've also included right-of-way along the frontages of these parcels on both Old Salem Road and Veterans Parkway. We went before the Rutherford County Highway Commission, and they have issued their consent for the city to annex those rights-of-way. The Veterans Parkway right-of-way, even though it's not in our jurisdiction right now, that particular segment, we already maintain it and via a maintenance contract with Rutherford County, since it was a city road construction project. The plan of services is in your agenda materials. It shows how we will be able to provide services to the subject properties upon annexation. No major issues were identified in providing services. We'll mention that that sewer is not available to the property as of yet. It is to the south of the subject property, and it would be the responsibility of the developer to extend sewer to serve that property. There was a public hearing on this matter on September the 3rd before the Planning Commission, and Planning Commission recommended the City Council annex this property and recommended that the plan of services be approved. I will mention something that came up yesterday during our Planning Commission meeting. There is an adjacent property that is going before that went before the Planning Commission and the City Council, or Planning Commission last night, and will be going before the City Council in the months to come, just to the west down Old Salem Road, and there was some discussion about traffic. I did want to bring an update with regards to that. Learned today from our Transportation Department that the wheels are in motion for signalization of Rucker Lane and Veterans Parkway, and that should be signalized within 6 to 8 months to help provide some traffic relief to that area. And while the intersection of Old Salem Road and Veterans Parkway is too close to the intersection of Rucker and Veterans Parkway to signalize it as well, the signal at Rucker Lane will provide some gaps in traffic to hopefully make movements at that intersection of Old Salem and Veterans easier to navigate. So I'll be happy to answer any questions regarding the annexation, and there will be a separate presentation on the companion zoning request as well.
Is there some reason that the Old Salem frontage, the gap there is not included in the annexation?
So
Between intersection and right at the north side of that property?
you talking about like right here?
Right, yeah.
That right of way is actually already in the city limits.
Okay.
So we are kind of just filling in the gaps along the frontage of the property here, and then taking in the intersection adjacent to
All of that
3
stretches.
city-owned parcels.
Any questions for Mr. Blomley? Let me, not sure again, because the two properties are so close, it's kind of one impacts the other. Did we do, I know we did a plan of services and how this is going to impact our schools, but have we done, when we do a study like this, and they come on because the applicants come at different times, but this one is one coming right after the other. Did we do a comprehensive kind of look at the 20,000-foot look at traffic flow in this area? My thoughts are that, has anybody ever had any problems about traffic in Murfreesboro? Any phone calls related?
Well, this is where we address those issues. And because a good plan, and I looked at both plans, the developers have done a great job, but it's not just the plan, it's the timing of these and the impact and the strain it puts on infrastructure. And I am excited that we have already considered the intersection at Rucker Lane as a possible reliever of some of the traffic issues that are here. But I think as far as getting off of Windrow Road there, you're going to have to connect it. And I don't know if there's any estimation of when that possibly could happen. I know we've got to purchase right away. We've got to design it. We've got to build it before that's actually going to provide some relief. So anyway, I guess my thoughts are, when we look at these annexations, and this is from the developer's standpoint too, and the existing property owners, do we have this big picture of how we anticipate traffic will flow in this area when it hits the 83, I think, isn't it, 83 units in this?
Yes, sir.
And 98 across the road. It's not just 83 that the traffic study needs to address, it's really this impact of 170 plus. So anyway, I think this is an opportunity to do the right thing for the existing property owners and the traffic flow, and maybe see this bigger picture for how we anticipate traffic to flow in this area. And I think that's the responsible thing to do. And the words that I'm getting are kind of piecemeal, that at 20,000 foot view of how we, and this also all the improvement that's happening to New Salem. I mean, this is a critical area for traffic, and I guess I've said enough, but I would like, my thoughts are, we need to do our due diligence from the city standpoint, and I'm just slightly concerned about that.
We do, Mr. Shacklett, from the from very early on, when we're contacted by developers, we immediately take the request to our public infrastructure team and begin to have them look at it and weigh in on improvements, weigh in on whether a traffic impact study is warranted. And I believe that that the developers on both this and the other request on Old Salem, I believe there were traffic impact studies conducted for both, and Mr. Taylor's nodding his head because he was his firm was were the planners and engineers on both. And so we are actively involving our public infrastructure team, and we rely upon them to review the traffic, not only from a micro standpoint, but also from a global standpoint as well.
Have there been recommendations other than a light at Rucker?
So I believe that there are some improvements that the developer here is making along their frontage. And Old Salem Road from Veterans Parkway west down to New Salem Highway is on the city's major transportation plan. To my knowledge, there are no imminent plans to improve it, but it is on the city's major transportation plan. So it's been identified.
Vice Mayor, if I may, we had a brief discussion about this earlier. I think when you're looking, and look at Lee here too, to make sure I use the right, I know enough about traffic demand modeling to be dangerous. But I think that's what you're asking for. It was actually a very good progress meeting with our Cherry Lane corridor, our Stones Battle Boulevard or Parkway meeting today, and we started talking about policies. How many feet should there be between signalized intersections? How do we control access to these major arterial roadways? How do we look at future land use and create trip generation from an anticipated, and then, what's the trip generations today? What's the trip generation going to be 20, 30 years from now? And how do we get ahead in a proactive way to control the access to these main roads, create these backage roads, create this secondary connectivity so that we are not, and really, in this case, certain geometry, I can see the geometry is not perfect here. Are there some geometric changes that need to occur on this? So I think if what you're asking, do we have a traffic demand model for the Salem Highway corridor? We do not. We do look at these traffic impact studies. They are somewhat siloed, but they do interconnect to some degree. I think Lee told me that there's some modicum of interconnectivity here. But so really, if we want to go in and look at Veterans Parkway or Salem Highway and do a real traffic demand model, that can be done in similar fashion to what we're doing with the Cherry Lane area study. And I think it would be beneficial, and you all could know with confidence that, hey, we've looked at this holistically and not just looking at each development as a silo.
Well, and that's my thought, is this can be I'm not being critical of anybody, the developers or the existing property owners. I'm not being critical of that. I think, you've done due diligence, but the city to do planning is I still remember my planning instructor at MTSU said a failure to plan is a plan to fail. And this is the opportunity, and this is the place, and these two pieces of property coming online are coming to us as applications at a certain time, may point us to do a more, like you say, I like the word, holistic look at this area for developers and for property owners, because this is not the last one that's going to come that's going to impact this infrastructure. And I hate to tell people that, no, we haven't looked at this broader picture. We're just picking up whatever shows up at the planning department and saying, how does this development work? How is this development going to do? And then trying to retrofit the infrastructure after we've already committed to certain things, whether it's in a realignment. In other words, addressing the one thing that probably needs to be on the table first is, how are we going to access Rucker Road? Do we have is it going to be a straight line, or what properties are going to be affected? We probably, so that light actually does help transportation in this area. Just saying that a light right there where it is right now doesn't really help Old Salem, and it's not going to help Windrow Road if it's not connected. So, like I say, not trying to put a kink in everybody's tail, but this is the place. Right now is when we have an opportunity to address traffic congestion in this area. And if we don't do it, and we don't take that kind of look, it's going to be down the road, those 200 homes times 400 cars trying to get on Veterans Parkway. Well, we just didn't think about that. We didn't know exactly how that was going to happen. And this is the place and this is the time that we address concerns so that everybody has reasonable expectations of what's going to happen. Always going to be something that doesn't happen, but this is where we establish reasonable expectations as to what we anticipate to happen. And that's the reason that I don't want people to get the train moving and everybody get down the pack, and then all of a sudden we decide to do something. Let's if it needs another study, a more in-depth study of the whole area there, how we're going to do that, then let's do this. And if it puts it off a month, I don't know, that may be the more prudent, responsible thing to do. That's all I want to say.
You're welcome to. Good.
We need. Sure.
Really quickly, Vice Mayor, where I guess kind of getting at is kind of, I would say, 3 levels to this. With this particular case on Salem, the timing of these coming on is definitely obviously challenging, but we typically do in our meetings on Friday. The whole team meets, we talk about upcoming developments, and we will ask the developer if it's necessary, if a TIS is needed, to scope out the existing road network and look at the trips that are generated. And that's not as far as we need to go. We recognize that. well, Greg here recently, we started looking at maybe a smaller version of a corridor study. So we're trying to work on that. So I think maybe the point is we're getting there in a kind of a planned, you can find the term, planned way towards what Darren is talking about as far as a master plan or a corridor study where it's needed. We have our major transportation plan. It also helps with this, but I think that getting from that to a corridor takes some work. And then, like you said, to try to, the timing of these things coming on board is, I think, that's where the folks that are planning have the expertise to kind of use that crystal ball and see how it might fit together. Right? My point is that we're working in that direction. We do some of it now. We can do better, and we will.
I guess, common meetings with the planning commission. And this is the kind of thing that I think would be helpful for them, because then you don't even get down to this place where it's before council and we're raising questions and the public's getting mad and don't understand what's going on. I mean, if those kind of things, if we get ahead of this and justify it with paperwork and studies, legitimate studies, then the developer has reasonable expectations as to what their responsibilities are going to be. The existing property owners, offering for sale property, understand what the timing is legitimately fair to expect. And the existing property owners should have some realistic expectation as to what's going to happen. So anyway, let me see what happens. I'm going to make a motion and see what happens. And, well, I'll tell you, let's wait for if there's any other comments.
We need to hold public hearings.
Okay.
So we'll need to hold the public hearings on the plan of services and the annexation. Council, do y'all have any other questions? Okay. Yeah, so we need to hold a public hearing on the plan of services and the annexation. This is not the zoning. This is just that whether we can provide plans of the services and we have the ability to annex. If you'll come to the podium, if you're wanting to speak for or against, if you'll keep all of your comments directed to the city council, you'll have 3 minutes as an individual, 5 minutes if you're representing a group like an HOA. We'll get all the questions answered at the end of the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak for or against, please come to the podium. All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and we'll now consider the plan of services in annexation. This is resolution 25R PSA 34.
Mr. Mayor, I want
Yes.
to make a motion that we table this.
Okay.
And direct staff to provide us with a further, more in-depth study. And I think you kind of understand what we're looking for, or what I'm suggesting of this particular area. Not just these two areas, but these two developments, but both of them together and the adjacent area and its impact on road structure and systems in that area.
So I want, just to make sure, so this is a motion to defer the plan of services, which will in turn defer the
Zoning.
public hearing for the annexation, or for the zoning next.
I think we can still conduct the public hearings so that we wouldn't have to re-advertise in the future.
Okay.
Matthew says, please.
I'm fine with that, but the only thing, I'm not sure that we don't, for the public, I'm not sure that if we're going to present additional information on the road network and road discussion, that the public needs the opportunity to be able to hear that, and then they need to be able to comment on that on another. So can we, I've not ever had this happen, so do we, how do we do that?
I think I would make a motion at this time to defer consideration of items 18 and of all of 18, which it would include the plan of services, annexation, and zoning, and just defer all of those to a future date, but that you would then have to re-advertise for a public hearing. I think your point is well taken with regard, if there is going to be some meaningful change with respect to transportation infrastructure with respect to these properties, it's a meaningful difference.
Okay.
Mayor, is there any way we can let Matt Taylor come to the podium and speak before we defer? I think, we should give him the right.
Yeah, we're in discussion right
Yeah.
now. We've got a motion, we don't have a second yet, so what would be, hold on a second, Mr. Taylor, what would be better if we can get, if someone wants to second the motion for deferral, then we can allow Mr. Taylor to come up and speak.
Okay, when we are talking about,
Okay.
With all due respect, Mr. Shacklet, I mean, I don't know about Councilman Wright, but we studied this pretty intensely at Planning Commission, and I felt like it was a very good development for the area, and we had a lot of questions answered last night about traffic, specifically on Veterans Parkway, and we received the email notifying us that we would have a traffic light installed at the Veterans and Rucker intersection within the next 6 to 8 months. So I support the project, so I'm not going to second it.
Okay.
what timeline are we talking about? And what I'm trying to figure out, I feel like I'm in between here in my thinking. What timeline are we talking about if we deferred? To get that information?
And Adam, as we get that, we really can't ask someone else to come up and speak.
Right, well, there's a motion.
Yeah, so-
There needs to be a second, and if there's no second, the motion fails for lack of a second.
Nobody will say.
Mr. Shacklet, if I could ask you this, would you rescind your motion for right now, which would allow Mr. Taylor to come up and speak, and then if you wanted to make a motion to defer, then you can make that motion to defer after Mr. Taylor speaks?
And the reason, Bill, I think we need to hear his explanation, what he's done and the amount of time he's put into this effort of making sure this project is a good fit for Murfreesboro. We hadn't heard his side.
And there was a traffic impact study from this development, right?
Yeah, but what I want to make sure, like, to hear from Matt, we've got a motion on the floor, so we either need a second or.
It can die from no one seconding
okay.
it if nobody wants to.
All right. So we have a motion, is there a
Do you
second?
want to hear Matt first?
I'll tell you, go ahead and second, and then I'll rescind the motion, and you can rescind the second. The issue, I have something to say about what this is not. I'm not directing, well, can I say, I'm not against your project, Matt. I think that, I'm not against either one of the projects that have been discussed at planning. I listened to the whole thing today, and this is the concern that I have, is that from the city standpoint, not from the developer standpoint, but from the city standpoint, we have not done our due diligence. The traditional way of handling the way applications come to us is we handle them isolated, as opposed to seeing. And these two properties that are adjacent, I mean, just like you said, they're right across the road from each other. They're going to dramatically affect flow of traffic in that area. In fact, it's going to be to those areas of old Salem Road. You still got to get out on Veterans Parkway. And is that gap that we're creating with that light there going to create enough gap? I don't know that we have really done a study. So my point is from the city standpoint, if it is deferred, it is allowing us an opportunity to do due diligence as to what is our plan for handling traffic in this particular area. Or are we still going to isolate each one of these proposals and applications and just deal with their impact? And I think it's an opportunity. It's a learning opportunity for us as the city to do due diligence in evaluating a critical area. So I'm not against Matt. Matt could come up. I'm sure he's studied and done, and I'm sure each of them were handled the way we traditionally do. And I've always supported. Most of the time, I support Matt.
So,
And I'm not supporting him this time. I just think it's an opportunity for us. We are the gatekeepers. That's what our responsibility I see it as, and this gives us an opportunity to exercise that due diligence and to ask our planning department and the planning commission to look at how things process, how we process this. And it's, to me, the very appropriate thing to do. But if my colleagues don't agree with it, I think you understand. If four people don't think that way, I don't necessarily have to hear whatever Matt has to say to convince me that it's a good project. I agree with you, Jamie. I looked at it too. It's some beautiful homes and the plan of tot lots that you hadn't heard before, those kind of things, I think, and trails around it. It's a beautiful design.
You're talking about the one from last night, not this one, correct?
The one from last night. Yeah, I listened to the planning commission from last night. But the interesting thing is, there is something to be said of the synergy of these two projects. This is a unique situation when these two projects are coming basically 2 days apart before our deliberative bodies, the Planning Commission and City Council. So I think, to task our staff to look at and provide us with not something that the developer has funded, but to look at traffic in this whole area. Then and the city, and if we need to do a public comment section to help see that the public is understanding what we anticipate to happen in this area and how we're going to address it, I don't think that's a problem. And I'd say something like that, I'm guessing a month.
So when I have a quick question. The
What's the
property,
timeframe?
the other property that we're talking about, when is that property coming for public hearing?
December, probably.
December
Next
4th.
month.
It's
Yeah,
December.
we approved it last night, the Metzler property.
The one that was before Planning Commission last night, January the 8th.
January the 8th.
That's
January the 8th.
Aubrey, PRD.
Single-family detached.
Can we get an idea about I guess that you said we were doing kind of what Councilman Shacklett's, or Vice Mayor Shacklett's talking about on a more small level. What is the difference in what we're doing as staff currently on these Friday meetings and what Darren described? What is the gap we're trying to fill in this?
Hey, Lee, and just so I don't get a text and get yelled at from the production team, will you pull your microphone up and talk to the microphone? You're welcome back there.
Test.
Yeah, there you go.
I think the difference is timing of the developments coming before, coming into the queue, basically. I think we try to, like I mentioned before, our Friday meetings, to kind of coalesce those. But I think that's the challenge, is that sometimes, and Matt and I speak to this as well, but we'll try to kind of envision what might look like, but we don't know what a developer's going to bring to us exactly, and they might come close together. And if the TIS or the impact study is been done, and we're going to review that based on the trip generation that's there at that time, I think that's the challenge. And I think that stepping back to a master planning, corridor planning kind of process, put some kind of parameters to that, but it's still going to be based on timing.
Yes.
I think that's the key. And I think, Commissioner Shacklet, I think you're exactly right. We want to not look at these things in a silo, but it's hard not to without the information being presented at the same time. Because a developer might make different decisions. And we try to, in our Friday meetings, look, okay, this is going to be a right in, right out, because we have these situations where access is important, and we don't want to have driveways all along. And like I said, we'll have the impact study scope many streets or many intersections around the road network to see how they impact those things. But I think that the timing, to me, is the biggest challenge, I think.
So in your Friday meetings, have you discussed these two projects together, or have you only discussed them separately?
I'm trying to remember, Matt, if we have on this one or not. I don't remember, honestly. Probably separately. I think based on timing, probably separately. And again, there's room for improvement. Maybe we need to bring these in together if there is some gap in time to try to bring them together. But there's oftentimes there's weeks or between the two, and it's a matter of, okay, this one came in 6 weeks ago. Let's see how it matches up here, and those kinds of things. Not making excuses. It's just that's, I think, the challenge.
And what kind of time frame does it take to take the study that's being described?
That's what we were just discussing. It really depends on how far out we go. And that scoping can really make a difference, because if you're going to have a consultant take counts and do modeling on, 3 miles versus 2 miles, that's going to make the time. I think that if we can take a look at this and see what makes sense for the area of interest, then I think we can come back with a time frame that makes sense.
We may want to do a phased type approach if we need to, and say, look at the smaller scale and the immediate need versus a larger scale area, because I know, tying back into our workshop item next week, we're talking about densities and how the developments along Salem Highway have come in, at what densities we're allowing to come in, and how that impacts the sewer as well. I mean, same sewer capacity, roadway capacity. I mean, you're trying to look into a little bit of a crystal ball and prognosticate the future and how that's going to impact, and then how far ahead do you get of things? Because I'm sitting here thinking the same thing. I'm looking at Windrow Road saying, hey, we could tee that into Rucker Lane and have a 4-way stop there. But do we pay for that, or do we wait for a developer to come in and pay for that improvement? There's the whole funding aspect of it too. So I would suggest, and not to influence in any whether this is deferred or approved or what, but I think staff, our charge would be, let's look at a limited scope, because if this other property is coming in for January 8th for a public hearing, I think we need to get a scope of a traffic impact analysis or demand analysis for this immediate area before then, so that we would have that available, and then we can obviously leverage that into a larger scale analysis if we need to.
Vice Mayor Shacklet, what negative repercussions do you think may come out of this? I mean, based on what you're saying, that you don't want to see, that you're fearing that it's going to come out of this.
Well, it happens, there's several areas in our community where, hindsight could be 20/20. After we see what's happened, and most of the time throughout our community, it's been slightly farther apart. Time frame hasn't been one came in and then the next month another application came in. This is a unique situation where these two significantly developments, when you have 100 or 98, whatever it was, and 83 developments come in right close to each other, within a mile of each other. So I think this is the unique opportunity for us to maybe establish a protocol that does what Darren's talking about. When we see this happen again, we don't just check, because once it approves here, if we approve something here, it just happens. And then people worry about, well, gosh, there's just more traffic on this road, and they said sometime they're going to put a red light, or they're going to have up at Rucker, but we're not sure when it's going to happen, 6 to 8 months. Well, did it happen? I think the pressure puts on, and I think Matthew and I had this conversation today. A lot of time development, brings us closer to the pivot point to make a decision of having to move something. But this is strictly, my suggestion is strictly from the city's point of view, not from the developers or really even the existing property owners, because a lot of these folks are county residents that have been showing up. Showing up, I think most of them were. But the due diligence is from our standpoint, so that we have a plan, and we have things for our planning staff to consider and the planning commission to consider. Here is the template for how we anticipated this to go. We do plans all the time that way, and we alter them all the time. So it's not a fruitless effort. We will probably make a plan and then change it. But at least it will give us that opportunity to look at that 20,000-foot view for this particular area and how traffic we anticipate to flow in this area. But
I'm going to go from a kindergarten standpoint, because I'm getting a little confused here. What exactly are you asking for, and what exactly are you looking for? that we don't already have in the plan?
We have traditionally looked at every development and its impact, isolated, and I think the word was used before, silo. We've looked at them, their impact, and when we talk about plan of services even, sometimes we look at that is the issue. That in development, what does that happen? But because when development occurs, and this area is ripe for development, along Veterans Parkway is going to be a ripe area for development. This is not the first and last time that development along Veterans Parkway is going to happen. For us to understand, to maybe do this study that focuses on this particular area, and then to be able to grow that over a period of time, to have more consideration as to what's happening in other parts of Veterans area, Veterans Parkway, would be a prudent thing to do as well. But
So you're saying further in the future, let's say 4 or 5 years out, we're going to be looking at a big mess?
I don't see how given this infrastructure that we face right now, that we're dealing with right now, that's in place right now, and what we're asking for the developer to do, I don't see anything that the developer is going to do is going to make this better. And I'm really not so sure. We don't really know for sure whether the Rucker Lane light is going to help this situation. Our anticipation is that it would provide some gaps and let people out on Veterans Parkway from Old Salem. I hope that's the case. But we don't really know that right now. And Windrow's the same. Windrow's got the same thing. It's can you turn right? So anyway.
So Matt, did you do a traffic study on both?
Yeah. Mr. Taylor did a traffic study on both, and our transportation department reviewed both.
Okay. And what came out of the traffic study? You guys, as a staff, you were okay with what Mr. Taylor and his team came up with?
Yeah, our transportation department reviewed it, and out of that came the recommendations that have been solidified in the pattern books.
Okay, and there are guarantees that there's going to be a light at Rucker within 6 months?
I don't know if it's within 6 months. Our transportation department said 6 to 8 months. But
there will be a light.
It is moving forward, yes.
And that's something that you guys didn't talk about last night.
Well, it was glanced over, but.
Exactly.
What about the connection from Windrow to Rucker it was kind of glanced over also? That just happens when Marimont's done, correct?
So that was originally going to be realigned. Windrow was originally going to be realigned when Marymont Springs was constructed. It was a part of the Marymont Springs PUD. The original developer of Marymont Springs no longer owns that property, and I believe it's in a trust or a holding company of some sort. So I think a property owner with no development intention. So I think in order to realign Windrow, that would be something that would have to be prioritized by council and included in the capital improvement plan. And one thing that I did want to mention in response to a question you had, Mr. Wright, there are a lot of folks that have their hands in looking at these plans, and sometimes I fail to remember things. But Mr. Donovan, the principal planner for both of the Old Salem Road projects, just mentioned to me, and this kind of predates Mr. Smith being here, is because we start talking to developers months and months and months before they submit their projects, was that Mr. Balachandra and our transportation staff reviewed this property, the other Old Salem development, as well as a proposed commercial development on the corner of Veterans and Old Salem, to look at their collective impacts. So there was some kind of global review of the area. I can't speak to what all that consisted of, but so Mr. Donovan just informed me.
If I could add something, Mr. Mayor and members of council, to add to what Mr. Blomley said with respect to the realignment of Windrow Road. If right now you don't have a willing developer to donate and or construct the right-of-way for that realignment, which it appears that we don't, to achieve that, for the city to do that realignment, the city would need to acquire the right-of-way to do that, and they don't have that right now. So that, and I just wanted to add that to what Mr. Blumley said, if that is one of the elements that we're looking at here.
So we have a motion on the floor for deferral. And this is for the plan of services, so
And no, was there, I don't believe there was a second.
is there a second?
I'm just still trying to, I hate to keep going back to the same thing. I don't, and no disrespect to you, Vice Mayor Shackley, but I'm still kind of confused. Seems like in listening to them, the things that you possibly want to happen has already happened as far as the different studies and the, I mean, it seems like it's already happened, and I'm just trying to understand what else are you wanting other than what's already been done, because it just sounds like to me, and I could be wrong, that some of the things you're asking for, like studies this and this, has already been done. Is that correct?
No, that is not correct.
Okay.
What I'm asking is that we independently look at developments and their impact. This is the protocol for how we have addressed the infrastructure needs in our community. We handle them one at a time and as they are presented to us. And in some instances like this, and Matt had said that they had done one, they look at the impact, the traffic impact study for the development that's before them. One of them is on one side of Veterans Parkway and one of them is on the other side of Veterans Parkway. But there's these two coming at this time, and we know, like they are in the cash, it's an opportunity for us to focus on what is it going to be like? What is traffic going to be like in this area in 10 years, in 20 years? And make some decisions that if we need to have that purchase of the property on our CIP so that traffic flows better in this area, then let's have that as on our plan and as a part of the plan that we're talking. Right now, in 6 to 8 months, we can put that light up at Rucker Lane. And we're all happy with that. That doesn't there's no more traffic strain going to be on Old Salem Pike with that traffic light. Are we comfortable with that? Do we feel like due diligence has been done? My point is, I don't think that due diligence has been done, that there's going to be a significant change when you put 200 homes and 400 cars coming from one side or the other of Old Salem Pike. Go out to Blackman sometime and see how we're trying to retrofit that area out there. And some days, traffic backs up forever on Blackman Road. So when we have the opportunity to give this bigger picture and make some decisions, whether they be CIP issues or they addressing with TDOT, if there are alternative plans that we can present so that the developers, the public, and the property owners can have reasonable expectations for a path forward, that how we're going to handle development, I think that's the responsible planning thing to do. But if you don't agree with me and you think we need to put more homes in there and it doesn't matter, we've done due diligence, the way we've operated in the past is adequate, then I don't guess we'll get a second.
But I thought the study that you're talking about, I'm hearing has already been done.
No.
So you want an in detail study as far
as... we just heard that the planning department never sat down and had both a consideration about traffic for both of these. I mean, at least that's what I heard, that they hadn't sat face-to-face in these weekly meetings that they're having.
I think they corrected that just now and said that these two and the commercial property at the corner have all been looked at together, is what Mr.
And the traffic impact of these.
Yes, that's what they just said just a second ago.
Is that what they're saying?
That's what staff informed me a moment ago, was that before Mr. Balachandra left, he reviewed
Has anything changed out there since Ron was there?
any
Been any insignificant developments? One of those developments couldn't have been here because it wasn't presented until the when was this last development came before our planning? Is it just these abstract thoughts with developers is what we've talked about? Is that when you're saying you've talked about it?
I can't speak to what they talked about. I'm
Okay.
reporting back what
Well,
our
this
staff said.
is the point, is to try to make it more of the accepted practice that this is the way it should be done. And I think we have some responsibility to be more deliberate in this, to have a protocol in place that considers it, particularly when there's two developments coming in at the same time. But obviously, y'all don't agree with me, and that's okay. It's not the first time.
Councilman Shepherd, on this one, we had the opportunity to look at 3 different developments prior to them actually coming to Planning Commission or City Council. So we had the opportunity to talk with Matt Taylor, the developer, in public inquiry meetings, due diligence meetings, and pre-app meetings to be able to share the information that we received from in these 3 developments. So there was unfortunately, sometimes we don't get to do that. We do it in an isolated incident. But in this particular incident, we were able to talk about all 3 of those developments because we knew that they were coming in and how that would impact the traffic. So.
Greg, do you think you would benefit, any planner? I want to see if you can answer that.
I don't want to interrupt, but like we've got, so we're talking about.
It's not going to work, so go ahead. Just go ahead.
I just want to make sure we've got a motion on the floor for a deferral.
And it doesn't have a second.
We either need to get a second.
You're right.
Unless.
You're right.
Yeah, so, but we need.
If we second, I'm just trying to see how long is it going to take. I asked that question.
Well,
They don't really know.
Well, no, I mean, we can get a second, and then we can open discussion, but I just don't want us to make a practice of, there's a motion on the floor, and then we're
discussing.
we don't even have a second, and we're going
discussing.
around in
You're
circles.
exactly right.
Yeah, so
Yes, sir.
we have a motion. Is there a second? Then we can open it up for discussion. If we open it up for discussion, then we can ask Mr. Taylor to come forward, but we either need to do a motion, get a second, or we need to consider the plan of services and annexation, and then we can have this discussion again in the zoning part.
I'm going to second because I do want to hear from Mr. Taylor. If that's the only way we can hear from
All right,
him.
we have a motion and a second. Mr. Taylor, would you like to come to the podium?
We've been trying to get him for an hour.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman Shacklett, I think that a lot of your questions can be answered, and I know that this is kind of what you've been doing on Cherry Lane. I do think that this location, both projects really, but I'm going to focus on this one because it's the one here tonight, are different than Cherry Lane. At Cherry Lane, you are focusing on setting an alignment, what was that, 5-6 miles, and you're deciding if you really want, what kind of projects you want to annex along that path. Here, you're not talking about setting an alignment of veterans. It's already set. You already know how wide veterans is because your major transportation plan 20 years ago told you how much to do that, how wide to build that. Neither of these projects accesses Veterans Parkway directly, and I think that's what this demand model would go in and talk about the impacts on veterans. Further, on Cherry Lane as well as on this one, with that impact model, it's not going to study individual projects. It's looking at a global, how big does this road need to be? How often do we need to allow access points? Even on Cherry Lane, whenever individual projects come in there, your staff and you are going to demand that those individual projects turn around and do exactly what we've done here, which is do another traffic impact study to determine the impacts by that particular project, to determine, does it need a 3-lane section? Does it need turn lanes? Does it need to do more? And that's what these are about. I would also say go back to whenever y'all first started the Cherry Lane study. We said, look, there's certain projects that are in the pipeline, and we're going to allow those to go forward. We're not going to hold those hostage because we decided to take up a new study, which I think is fair. But you said, look, we're going to pause on new zonings and annexations along this path, and you set where that path was. And so that expectation, as you said earlier, was clear to the development community and those property owners. I think that we have a project here tonight that is pretty far down the path, that's been talking to staff for over a year. This was a 2024 project number for us, so I know it's been, we're nearing the end of 25. We've been in the process for a while. So I think there's a lot of similarities in what you're asking for, but I think there's several differences with this project and the one that you'll see in a couple of months between what you have here and what you had on Cherry Lane. What I will say is, from study perspective, what we've done here, this particular project did not take into account the one across the street, because this project started the process before the other one existed. The one across the street would take into account this one, because this one was ahead of that one. And that's standard. It doesn't matter whether I'm working in Murfreesboro, Rutherford County, Smyrna, Spring Hill. We would do that in that order. It's fair to whoever gets in the system first. What I will say is that this project and this study takes into account general background growth. And so it does account for growth that we may not know about, specific growth. And that's based on historical counts that we see along New Salem. TDOT counts New Salem every year. And so I think that New Salem was seeing like a 4 or 5% annual growth rate. And so we apply that to whenever we think the project's going to finish up, essentially. And so there is growth, and we do account for some of those things inside of this particular study. And the other side of the road should account for our project plus that growth as well. And every other project along the corridor will do the exact same thing. Your concern about being able to turn on the Veterans Parkway from this project, I think it's a valid concern. Obviously, turning right to go back toward 840, go north, I think is a very easy turn and movement here. It's crossing Veterans Parkway, which would be more of a challenge, but we're fortunate that we have the ability to turn right, go back to Old Salem and 99 and go that way. So I think this project has a lot of that interconnectivity we talk about here a lot. I think that benefits this project. This project also has direct access back to the Rucker signal that was mentioned earlier, which that signal will be up and operational before we're ever able to break ground. I mean, the permitting process beyond y'all will take, probably another 6, 8, 12 months. So I don't even think we will have broken ground by the time that signal is up and operational. And so whenever our homes come in, they're going to gravitate toward that signal. That's going to be, they're existing whenever they move in. And so they're going to gravitate back toward that signal, because we've got good access from Old Salem back to Smith Jarrett, directly back to Rucker right there. And so we'll have that benefit as well.
Any questions for Mr. Taylor?
My point, and I'll just make this, and I promise I will not say another word. No. The project, the plat, the plan book that I looked at, all good, well thought out. I'm not, I don't question Matt's presenting tonight a plan and a study and an understanding of traffic flow and being responsible to his clients. What I'm talking about and the suggestion that I'm making is that we allow our planning department and our planning, because these two projects are so close in a critical area of development of our community and the impact on that area, I don't see how anybody can look at this and not say it's going to be extremely impactful on that area. The people that they're proposing to sell homes to. And it would be prudent for us to direct a protocol for our planning department to come up with some kind of, they're independent of what the developer tells us, independent of what they do, because they're looking at a specific area, and we need to look collaboratively with what is happening, and we know to be in the cash for the rest of that community. That's when we can make good decisions, good plans, and we can also explain to the developers and the property owners and the existing property owners what we anticipate to happen. Right now, when that question has been asked, we've been shuffling to try to figure out exactly, well, was there a study? Did we have a study? Now we found out there's one study to the program that we've had tonight, but when we brought the other plan, Matt, didn't you say you did one considering this
Yes,
property?
sir.
Okay. Well, when we have the opportunity to do this as a city, we probably should have directed them to include both.
Well, so honestly, that staff would. And so in a situation like this, I was fortunate that we were working on both sides of the street, so we would have known about the other one. But if there was a different engineer working over here, then staff brings that to our attention and says, Matt, you need to treat this, we're going to call it background traffic. And so you got existing, and then the background traffic is going to be what's that growth over the period of our development. They're going to say, Matt, you need to take into account Jim Bob's development over here and add that to your study. And so that is absolutely what staff does on a very routine basis with us. If they're aware of other projects that are in the pipeline already, they say, you need to coordinate with this one over here. So they absolutely do that. And what I would say, I meant to address this earlier, on the timing, you look back at what we did at Cherry Lane, this may not be the same magnitude, or it could be. I mean, we said up front, that was going to be at least a 9 to 12 month pause. So it's not to do that demand model, I mean, it's going to take you 3 months to get a consultant on board, just from the city's, I mean, that's just how the city works, right, wrong, or indifferent. So it's not going to be a quick thing.
Would a developing community benefit from the city doing a comprehensive study, traffic study of this area, not just your two developments, but all the developments that's in that area and its impact on the infrastructure? Would your development community benefit from that?
Overall, the development community would, and I'm not going to dispute that a demand model would benefit along all of our corridors. What I would ask you to consider is the ones that are in the pipeline that have put in a lot of effort and have negotiated with their land sellers to get where they are today, that those kind of be separated. And if you want to do something like you did at Cherry Lane, then maybe that's for y'all to consider. But for the ones that aren't directly connecting to veterans, and for the ones that are already well into the pipeline, I would ask for different consideration for that. The study, I'm not disputing the study or the benefits of it at all, Councilman. I'm saying that I'm going to view that as a separate matter from this proposal, from these two projects, specifically the one here tonight.
I'm going to use an analogy, and we've done this traditionally. I've been on council for a while. We stuff the sausage. We keep building. We keep building and stuffing the sausage, putting more sausage into the infrastructure. And we have an opportunity. We are the gatekeepers. That's that should be our responsibility, and that's really all I'm talking about, Council. That's the only point I'm talking. We have an opportunity now. When we vote yes on this, we don't have that leverage anymore to move forward, and that's why I made the proposal. So that's all I wanted to say, and I have said my last word.
Yeah, I don't disagree that, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about the property that was on the corner of Cason Lane and Highway 99, and I had brought up that we need to look at a global approach of what is out there and look at, what multi-family had been approved. In my opinion, I think from the people I'm talking with, I think we're going to start seeing a shift on townhomes. In my opinion, I think the market is clearly saying we have enough townhomes. But Bill, I think the part I agree with you, I'm all for like globally looking at Rucker Lane, Old Salem, Windrow. I think we do have significant land banker who owns a lot of property in that area that we negotiated with to get Salem built. But I mean, I don't think any of us knows what's going to happen with that property anytime soon. So I'm all for like looking at a holistically and global part. The part that I do agree with, when we said we were going to do that with Cherry Lane, and we saw that development that had come through, we carved out that development on the Horde property and said that we were okay with letting them proceed forward. And I think everybody voted to do that. So, I mean, in my opinion, I don't think it's fair in this case to tell the developer who's gone through this entire process, we're gonna change from what we've been doing. I'm all for doing that after that part. So, I mean, I think it's great to look at that again overall, but I'm not sure it's fair to someone who's gone through the process. I mean, if we want to vote it, in my opinion, if I'm going to vote it down because I don't think the infrastructure's there, then that's one thing. But I think to say, hey, we're going to do a 10-month study on a traffic impact and infrastructure, and we're pausing you for that 10 months, plus you're going to have to wait to see what we implement that, make the changes that you have to your development, which could be another 6 months to change that, then tell them, hey, you're going to have to wait another 8 months to go through the permitting process and construction process. You're looking at delaying someone 3 years to be able to start, and that doesn't seem fair. I mean, I guarantee you the person who has the contract on the land is not going to wait 3 years to do that. So,
And what does that study cost? I'm sure it's a few $100,000. And it's not, if Erin were here, she'd be sweating. It's not in the budget.
so, I mean, I think if we want to do that, Bill, I'm with you, but I think maybe it's not just the Highway 99 area. There's other areas in the community that we may want to look. 231. I mean, so there's corridor studies that if we want to do. But I really would like, in the Cherry Lane case, our team came to us and said, hey, we're seeing X, Y, and Z. We're seeing the interchange on 24 coming. We're seeing the Cherry Lane interchange that's coming. We're seeing this is happening, going all the way back to Memorial. And they came to us and said, we want to see this. And I think that traffic study is, how much was that traffic study?
I don't know off the top of my head.
But I mean, if the planning staff thinks that that's what we need, then I'm all for it. Just not with this one.
Well, we're also working on access control guidelines. I mean, there's a lot of things in the kitchen right now, cooking. But I do understand not someone that's in the process making them wait, because things have a tendency to mushroom. If we try to make it small scale and do it quickly and do it pointedly in a particular area, that's why I was trying to talk about a phasing approach. But we do have a tendency to take a little more time than sometimes we should to get these things done.
The other thing too, this development's 91 units, I think.
98.
45 single family plus
83 total.
83, yeah. So there's a piece of property that we've all been contacted about that's 200 plus acres that is now being talked about in this same exact area. And so much more, like I think hearing the conversation tonight, if I'm that person that's looking at that 200 plus acres, I think that's a development that we all 100% need to be saying, we need to look at the overall infrastructure and road network in that area. I don't mean to say that 81 or 83 units is insignificant, but 83 units is right now not going to make or break the bank on the entire area. So that's just my opinion.
So the motion on the floor is to,
We have a motion second for deferral. So if there's no other discussion,
let me just ask a question. Because I seconded, then I need to
You don't have to. No, ma'am, you can.
That was my question, and that's why I didn't second it.
No, I mean, look,
You can
there's,
vote any way you
there's
want.
lots of times when someone will make a motion and may not vote for that motion just because they want the council to
Okay.
discuss it. There's a time when someone may second it just so everyone can have the discussion. Honestly, I probably let the discussion go a little further
You did.
than it probably needed to go without a second, but we're all friends here. So,
Thank
all right, we have a motion and a second, so let's call the roll on deferral.
Ms. Aberwater?
No.
Ms. Scales Harris?
No.
Vice Mayor Shacklet?
Yes.
Mr. Wade?
No.
Mr. Wright?
No.
Mayor McFarland?
No. All right, we'll now consider the plan of, Resolution 25R PSA 34, and this is for the plan of services and annexation.
Move for approval.
Second.
This is for the plan of services and the annexation. We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Aberwater?
Aye.
Ms. Scales Harris?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shacklet?
No.
Mr. Wade?
Aye.
Mr. Wright?
Aye.
Mayor McFarland?
Aye. All right, we'll now move to the zoning of 19.26 acres simultaneous with annexation, and we'll need to conduct a public hearing on this, but Mr. Blomley, we'll let you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the companion zoning request. It's for the little over 19 acres on the south side of Old Salem Road. The 3 parcels that are owned by the city, there's not a companion zoning request on those, so they would come in with an interim zoning classification of RS15 automatically per our zoning ordinance. So this request is to zone it to PRD simultaneous with annexation. The development would be called Robinson Bend, and it is 483 dwelling units. I believe it's 52 single-family detached and 31 single-family attached. As you can see here, the subject property would have one access point to Old Salem Road, but they are making provisions for stub outs here, here, and here for future connectivity to the east, west, and south when the adjacent properties develop. The surrounding land uses around the subject property are primarily, at the present time, primarily single-family residential parcels in the unincorporated county to the north and to the west. And the New Salem Highway is to the south, and that property is zoned commercial highway. However, it's not currently developed, it's undeveloped. The future land use map of the Murfreesboro 2035 Comprehensive Plan identifies the subject property as AUR. So it's within the city's service infill boundary, and it is also identified as AUR, which is Auto Urban Residential. Auto Urban Residential is a kind of a single-family land use classification that could incorporate both single-family detached and single-family attached uses. And in this case, as I mentioned, it's the majority of the homes are single-family detached, but there are single-family attached uses as well, or units as well. The density falls in line with the density that is recommended with the AUR land use classification of 4 to 12 units. Also, the number of townhomes that are proposed is consistent with the recommendations of the Auto Urban Residential land use classification, which recommends only a certain percentage of the development consist of single-family attached townhome uses. So staff is supportive of this rezoning request as it is consistent with the AUR land use recommendation, and it is compatible with the surrounding residential uses. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on this matter on September the 3rd and then voted to recommend approval to the City Council. Be happy to answer any questions, and Mr. Brian Grover with SEC has a presentation on the specifics of the proposed development.
Any questions for Mr. Blomley? All right, Mr. Grover.
Mayor McFarland, members of the council, good evening. I am Brian Grover, of SEC. With me tonight is Christian McCary and Wayne Miller from Summit Development. Also Matt Taylor from SEC, one of our senior engineers. I just want to thank you tonight for this opportunity to present this project. The project is located just east of Veterans Parkway and south of Old Salem Road. Currently it is a vacant site surrounded primarily by residential and agricultural farmland. It is currently zoned RM in Rutherford County, as is the property primarily to the east and west. There is the Marymount Springs PUD to the north, as well as some commercial properties to the south and immediately to the west between itself and Veterans Parkway. As Matthew stated, this project does align with the 2035 future land use map and the general area. Some photos of the site as it is today. This is looking at the site from Old Salem Road, and this is that southeast corner looking back towards Salem. This is looking at the residential house just to the west of the property and the residential property just to the east. This is looking east down Old Salem Road, and this is looking west towards Veterans Parkway. The overall site's approximately 19.3 acres. It is proposing 83 homes, 52 of which would be single-family detached, and 31 of which would be single-family attached in the form of townhomes. The required open space for this site is typically 20%, and this site is providing a minimum of 30% open space. When it comes to the single-family detached, they're primarily located on the northern, eastern, and southern portions of the property. They are a typical 50 by 120 lot size at a minimum of 6,000 square feet each, and would be providing approximately 14,000 square feet of living space per home. Here's some examples of those elevations. The single-family attached homes are located kind of towards the central core of the property, a little bit to the west. We're proposing approximately 31 of those townhome units, of which they would be sold on a horizontal property regime and be a minimum of 1,200 square feet. Now, these townhomes would have a minimum of 2 bedrooms and a maximum of 3 bedrooms. This is one of the few and only exceptions actually being requested with this book, is that the garage is similar to what you guys heard last night at the Planning Commission, would be counted towards the parking calculations so long it follows the minimum clear space requirements. And those requirements for that vehicle storage strictly within those garages would be recorded in the CCRs. Here's some elevation examples of what these townhomes would look like as well. The internal and external streets of this project, Salem Road would be the roadway primarily impacted by this development. For a traffic impact study was done on this, and it did state that the only entrance features we would need is a single lane in and out. Now, Old Salem Road would be updated on the southern portion of that roadway along the property line of this development to be improved to a curb and gutter, while the northern portion would be improved to a 2-foot gravel shoulder that would be further improved once the northern portion of that roadway was developed. The internal roadways do have 3 points of access to the surrounding properties. We have also done a study and included turn templates for the fire trucks to make sure we had adequate room within this development for those vehicle movements. The amenities offered on site, they range from a fireplace located just to the south of townhomes, play lawns, including one that has more of a structure programming to it to include some soccer goals, as well as seating areas throughout the development. The landscaping for this project, we are proposing a type A buffer on the northeast corner of this property to help mitigate the impact of those single-family homes to that residential. Although it is not required, this project did want to propose that. On the western portion, you'll see another type A buffer along the townhome area. This is to help mitigate any impact the towns might have towards that commercial development or that commercial zoning, and then a type D buffer on the northwestern to really help mitigate any type of impact to that residential property. There is some additional proposed landscaping along Old Salem Road. This landscaping would consist of evergreen trees, canopies, and shrubs. Although not required, once again, the goal of this would to create an aesthetic as you approach or drive by this development along Old Salem Road. If you guys have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer those now or after the public hearing.
Any questions? All right, seeing none, we'll need to open the public hearing, and we'll need to consider the zoning of this 19.26 acre request. Anyone wishing to speak for or against, please come to the podium. All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and we'll now consider on first reading ordinance 25 OZ 34.
Matthew, can I ask a question? We had talked, this has come up before, and I know we've got stubbed roads here, but until those roads go somewhere, access to the property is one way for emergency vehicles. Does that not present a problem?
So it does have limited frontage on Old Salem Road, and so because of that limited frontage on Old Salem Road, and that's why we're planning for the connectivity in the future. I think it's not ideal, but and that's why we're planning for that future connectivity, though.
Had there been some consideration for that northern cul-de-sac to be a connector?
I'm going to ask Mr. Donovan if there was any discussion about that. Mr. Donovan was the principal planner on this project. Asking if there was any consideration to have that access.
So I don't recall there being any discussion there for that connection to be made to Old Salem Road. I know that the public infrastructure group that Mr. Smith mentioned earlier did want to see that as well.
Didn't or did?
Didn't. There was no request from staff to have that connection, and our public infrastructure group, if I remember at the time, had some concerns about space in there with potential development further down the road.
Well, there's something about the other, if we put one there, it would be right in the middle of a curve or something also. I think that was talked about at Planning Commission.
I do think there were some also mentions of the geometry issues as well.
So are we basically not asking or requiring or whatever it was? At one time, we almost required at least two access to property when we were making developments.
We do, but there are certain situations where it's just not practical to do that. And in this situation, because of the geometry of where that would line up, the potential for conflicts, that one access point onto Old Salem Road, it was determined that that was sufficient, and that the secondary means of ingress and egress would be provided upon development of the property in the future.
Is there a threshold for like number of units for one access requiring multiple access if it's got 200 access units, or is there anything like that in our code or in our practice?
Not that I'm aware of. I know that there are thresholds for turn lanes. I think 75 units is the number of units for a left turn lane to be required. Here, I will say it's something that we ask for at every chance that we get where it's practical, and in our design guidelines, it mandates that we look at multiple ways in and out of developments, as does our major transportation plan and our subdivision regulations. But I think in this instance, it just wasn't practical to get a secondary access point onto Old Salem Road.
Talking to Richard, one of the main reasons we had that connection there and the one on Old Salem Road was there was the potential for commercial development moving along the southwest portion. However, a solution possibly we could offer for this is that we offer an emergency access gate at that end of that cul-de-sac that would then connect to Old Salem Road. So you would still then have your 2 connections for your emergency vehicles. And we can make that a crash gated.
What does staff think about that?
We've done it before.
I think we can evaluate, if the council decides to approve this on first reading, we can evaluate that between now and second reading.
Any questions for Mr. Blomley?
Did we have the public hearing? Did we close it?
Well, public hearing's been closed.
We're past that.
Then I will make a motion to approve the zoning. We're on zoning, right? I'm starving.
Do we want to make any direction about the crash gate for the second entrance, or does that not bother anybody? If we don't have a second entrance?
Just say provisions for this crash gate to be included.
Okay.
But is that the cul-de-sac that's on
Not,
Old Salem Road?
Yeah, the north side.
There's not any property, there's not a building there, or it's not a,
I don't think they were talking about the cul-de-sac. I thought they was talking about the,
We can talk with Mr. Taylor and his team and our public infrastructure team and just report back on that at second reading if that's appropriate.
I think it'd be good to get information on that.
We'd be happy to.
Okay.
So my motion stands. Motion to approve the rezoning.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Saberwater?
Aye.
Ms. Scales Harris?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shacklet?
aye.
Mr. Wade?
aye.
Mr. Wright?
Aye.
Mayor McFarland?
Aye. And I think the most popular thing that we're going to do tonight, Leadership Rutherford, y'all are welcome to stay, but y'all are also welcome to
Go home.
You guys have done your hour and a half, so that's really about an hour and 25 minutes longer than most Leadership Rutherford people stay at the meeting. So y'all are welcome. Y'all are free to stay or free to go. All right. Make sure and open the door and don't run through it.
Yeah.
So. All right, let's move to item 19, the rezoning of property located along Bill Smith Drive.
You know, they really need to be at a meeting that's not 15 minutes, so I think this was just that they were here for 2 hours.
I mean, I agree. Used to, they had to get their things signed off, and we'd wait till the end of the meeting to get it signed off, but
I think, has Stephanie gone soft?
she has.
Oh, I'm going to tell her you said that. That's not going to be good for you, Mr. Blomley.
All right. Our next public hearing is a rezoning request on the north side of Bill Smith Drive. It is the Toyota of Murfreesboro overflow lot. You can see it's the area shaded in blue on the map before you. It's currently zoned Commercial Highway and Gateway Design Overlay District Number 1. And as you can see by looking at the aerial photo, it's currently occupied by Toyota of Murfreesboro and it is just a parking lot. What Toyota would like to do is to construct a 7,500 square foot auto repair building for their inventory. And so they have requested the rezoning because in the commercial highway zone, automotive repair uses are no longer permitted. And so, it's ironic because it's not the Gateway Design Overlay District zoning that prohibits the auto repair, it's the commercial highway. So they're requesting this rezoning to PCD. Of course, Bill Smith Drive is a little bit remote. It's off of Fortress Boulevard and Manson Pike, and so I think you'd have to be looking for this particular property. And so, show you the concept plan. You see that 7,500 square foot building right there on Bill Smith Drive. Directly to the north of the subject property is Overall Creek and the lots in the unincorporated county, residential lots off of Brookwood. And you can see Brookwood Lane here on the map and the houses. The building that they're proposing to build would be several hundred feet away from those houses and would be buffered by the existing vegetation along the creek. The building itself would meet the Gateway Design Overlay District architectural requirements and would have to go through the initial and final design review process with the Planning Commission for review of that building, in addition to the applicant showing you the building, the architecture, and the layout during the zoning process itself. Directly to the east of the subject property is the bus facility, and further to the east of that is a substation and the actual Toyota dealership, which is a little bit disconnected from their overflow lot. The large property here to the south is the CarMax dealership. So staff is supportive of this rezoning request because they are proposing to meet all of the Gateway Design Overlay District regulations, and because the use is compatible with the land uses there along Bill Smith Drive. I will mention that the amended future land use map from 2023 does code this property with the general commercial land use character, and the general commercial land use character promotes the types of heavier commercial uses that would consist of the uses that are proposed and the existing uses there in the area. So staff is supportive of the request as it is consistent with the comprehensive plan. Now I'll be happy to answer any questions. Mr. Grover, once again, has a presentation. Planning Commission did conduct a public hearing on this matter on September the 3rd and voted to recommend its approval.
Mayor, fellow members of the council, once again, I'm Brian Grover from SEC. On behalf of Toyota Murfreesboro, I want to thank you for this opportunity to present this project. The project is located and accessed off of Bill Smith Drive. It's located just west of the existing Toyota dealership, southwest of Interstate 24. It is currently zoned commercial highway, along with the properties to the east and south. To the west of this proposed development, there is some higher density residential, and to the north, within the unincorporated Rutherford County, some medium residential in RM. As Matthew stated, the proposed PC does align with the future land use map, as the proposed use does correlate with the more of the intense commercial uses for this area. As the site exists today, this is looking at the entrance from Bill Smith Drive. This is the storage lot looking west. And this is Bill Smith Drive looking northwest and then southeast. This is an example photo of some of the residential homes on the north side of the project. Now this is separated from this parcel by Overall Creek, which provides a natural barrier to help mitigate any type of impact. The proposed site's just under 7.5 acres. The open space will remain primarily unchanged for the site, and the largest change would be coming in the form of a 7,500 square foot building. Some of the key development standards for this PCD is that no bulk vehicle deliveries will be allowed inside the right-of-way, and working with staff specifically to help mitigate some of those deliveries that are happening on the right-of-way, we are proposing a 25 by 150 loading zone on site, as well as any other changes that happen to the site or any additions such as lighting or any dumpster closures, so on and so forth. Those would be required to meet all of the City of Murfreesboro standards. It is good to note that this site is not open to the public. This will be accessed only by the Toyota employees. So if we repair a car from a shipment, they'll have it here from the deliveries, or if it does need to be a client car, it will be driven by the employees from the dealership to this site. The sole use for this property is automotive vehicle repair. However, this is accessory to the Toyota of Murfreesboro. This cannot or is intended to be operate as a standalone site. The setbacks mirror that of the commercial highway, with 42 from the front, 10 from the side, and 20 from the rear. The landscaping on the site will primarily remain unchanged. The existing vegetation along that stream is going to be left as it is. The existing required frontage and perimeter plantings will remain as well. However, if any of those are damaged or removed during this construction process, those will be replaced. There is some additional landscape being proposed around the building as well. The building architecture is going to be limited to about 35 feet in height. Now, there would be a 24-inch water table along the frontage as well as the east and west portions of the building. And here's some examples of what those materials would be. Here's some example elevations of that, with the top one facing the Bill Smith right-of-way and the bottom one facing north, which is closer towards the facing 24. And this is the east and west elevation. You'll note that the roll-up doors on this elevation will be primarily transparent, and here's an example of one of the possibilities that could look like. The building will be following the GDO standards for its architectural requirements. However, there is one exception we are asking, and that's to reduce the void space for this building. As this is not going to be accessed by the public, we figured that was an appropriate request to do for this building. Secondly, there is a request to reduce the required amount of green space between the building and the drive aisles from 10 feet to 5. Not so often we get projects in the GDO that are larger than 5 acres, but when they have an increased amount, because once again, this will not be accessed by the general public. We think that would be an appropriate request as well. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those now or after the public hearing. Thank you.
Any questions? All right, we need to open the public hearing and consider this rezoning request for 7.46 acres. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and now consider on first reading ordinance 25 OZ 35.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion is second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Aberwater?
Aye.
Ms. Gels Harris?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shacklet?
Aye.
Mr. Wade?
Aye.
Mr. Wright?
Aye.
Mayor McFarland?
Aye. All right, let's move to item 20, rezoning property along East Kingwood Drive.
Thank you, Mayor McFarland. Our last public hearing tonight is for the rezoning of .4 acres located along the east side of East Kingwood Drive, or the east side of Memorial Boulevard and the north side of East Kingwood Drive. This is part of the parcel of that was formerly occupied by the Destiny Center Church. It's got new owners, and there are several different uses in there, one of which is a daycare center. And the back portion of the property, none of the building, but the back portion of the property, the back .4 acres, is zoned RM16. And having a piece of property split zone sometimes presents some administrative issues about how to treat it. In this case, the daycare would be allowed by special use permit in the RM16 zone. Because none of that was in the building, because none of the building was in this particular area that was zoned RM16, we told them they could go ahead and be allowed by right. But just to eliminate any confusion in the future, we recommended that the property owners submit an application to rezone the back portion of their property to commercial highway. So that way the entire property was zoned the same, and it would have a much wider palette of uses that could be allowed for that property without the confusion of having the back portion zoned residential. The surrounding land uses are, as you know, primarily commercial in nature along Memorial Boulevard, and the Kingwood apartments are located directly to the east of the subject property at the end of East Kingwood Drive. The Planning Commission conducted a public hearing on this matter on September the 3rd and then voted to recommend its approval at that time. Mr. Taylor's a busy man tonight. He is representing the applicants here as well, if you have any questions for him. No presentation, though.
Thank you.
Any questions? All right, we need to hold a public hearing on the rezoning request of this .4 acres. Anyone wishing to speak for or against, please come to the podium. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and consider on first reading ordinance 25 OZ 36.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Aberwater?
Aye.
Ms. Gels Harris?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shacklet?
Aye.
Mr. Wade?
Aye.
Mr. Wright?
Aye.
Mayor McFarland?
Aye. All right, let's move to on motion. We have the acceptance of a Tennessee State Museum grant. Ms. Singer.
Good
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. I would like to ask your consideration for the acceptance of the Tennessee State Museum Capital Maintenance and Improvement Grant for Bradley Academy Museum and Cultural Center. So Bradley Museum is exhibiting water intrusion issues around the windows and main entrance into the building. Leaks and poorly sealed windows are causing serious consequences to the facility. The replacement of windows and front entry doors, coupled with reworking of the entry stoop for improved drainage and repair of plaster and wood flooring, are needed. The Tennessee State Museum grant funding of $100,000 in combination with the designated CIP funds will cover the entire repair costs that have been estimated by Johnson & Bailey Architects. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Saberwater?
Aye.
Ms. Scales Harris?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shacklet?
Aye.
Mr. Wade?
Aye.
Mr. Wright?
Aye.
Mayor McFarland?
Aye. All right, let's move to item 22, the purchase of 2 replacement arms for automated side loader garbage trucks. Mr. Gussett.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, and good evening. Before you is a request to approve the purchase of 2 replacement arms for ASL garbage trucks, automated side loader garbage trucks, number 225 and 226. These 2 trucks have exceeded their arm expectancy life by 5 years and have become inoperable in their current condition. This replacement would help the department maintain a high level of service without the financial burden of purchasing new trucks. Municipal Equipment has the contract for this equipment. The expense is $114,134 and is budgeted in the FY25 operations budget, and I'm available for any questions.
I know sometimes you all have trouble with those arms. I mean, they wear out quick. Will 2 be enough for right now?
2 for right now, yes, ma'am. We do have one other that will need to be repaired soon, but Fleet is looking into alternatives on repair for that instead of a full replacement. So there may be another Band-Aid or 2 they can put on that one.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion is second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Saberwater?
Aye.
Ms. Scales Harris?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shacklet?
Aye.
Mr. Wade?
Aye.
Mr. Wright?
Aye.
Mayor McFarland?
Aye.
No one is happier you're done than your son back there.
All right, let's move to item 23, airport sign construction contract.
Mayor, members of the City Council, I bring to you a contract with Rice Construction for the replacement of the old airport sign that was removed when the property was sold. We received 6 bids. The lowest bid was $79,900. I'll be glad to answer any questions you have about that.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Saberwater?
Aye.
Ms. Scales Harris?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shacklet?
Aye.
Mr. Wade?
Aye.
Mr. Wright?
Aye.
Mayor McFarland?
Aye. All right, let's move to Murfreesboro Transit Center final change order. Mr. Elliott.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. I'm here on behalf of staff to seek approval for the final balance and change order for the Murfreesboro Transit Center project. Construction began in October 2023 with Rock City Construction Company and included 3 major components: the administration building, the transit pavilion, and the bus maintenance building. The new facility will give our transportation department a more efficient space to operate and will improve mobility and service for the residents who rely on the city's transit system. Change order number 14 reflects the final adjustment to the contract, including remaining balances in the contingency and unused item allowances. After these final reconciliations, the city will receive a credit of $531,000, bringing the total contract amount to $17.3 million. This project supports the council's priority to expand and strengthen our infrastructure and will help us continue improving transit services throughout the community. Staff recommends approval of final balance and change order with Rock City Construction. I can answer any questions at this time.
Under budget.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, under budget. That was easy.
Can I get an amendment?
Yeah.
I move for approval.
Second.
Everybody wants to do that one.
Motion is second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Saberwater?
Aye.
Ms. Scales Harris?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shacklet?
Aye.
Mr. Wade?
Aye.
Mr. Wright?
Aye.
Mayor McFarland?
Aye. All right, let's move, thank you, Scott. Let's move to Amendment 3 to the annual traffic signal maintenance and electrical contract. Mr. Smith.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm here to talk today about a very important and interesting topic, traffic signal and electrical maintenance. I'm here to present Amendment number 3 of our traffic signal and electrical maintenance contract with S&W Contracting. Staff recommends approval of this amendment to ensure continued support of our city's traffic signal, lighting, and electrical infrastructure. This is a key benefit to this contract is for effective signal maintenance, a cornerstone of safe and efficient mobility. A little history, this contract was originally awarded in 2022, and it includes up to 4 one-year renewal options. Amendments 1 and 2 were extended to the contract through December 31st, 2025. Now we're presenting Amendment number 3, proposing a 1-year extension through December 31st, 2026. Importantly, all terms and unit prices remain unchanged. Funding for this extended term will come primarily from state street aid, with some support for general funds. Costs will vary depending on the scope of work required during the extension period, since this is a needed contract used by multiple departments. So in conclusion, staff recommends approval of Amendment 3. This will allow us to maintain continuity with a trusted contractor and ensure our infrastructure remains safe and functional. Happy to answer any questions.
Move for second. My girl.
Motion is second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Saberwater.
Aye.
Ms. Gales Harris.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shacklet.
Aye.
Mr. Wade.
Aye.
Mr. Wright.
Aye.
Mayor McFarland.
Aye. All right, let's move to the Dell VX Rail servers contract.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. We are asking you to consider replacement of primary hardware and software VX Rail servers with 8 new VX Rail servers. The existing servers are 6 years old. Storage is not adequate, and we have to prioritize what we want to back up onto these servers. Because of that, with the new servers, there'll be a 5-year license. This solution provides enterprise-grade infrastructure for critical workloads and simplifies deployment and management. The current support through Dell and Broadcom is expiring and cannot be renewed. And the expense is $703,305 and we budgeted $750,000. We request approval of the Waypoint Business Solutions contract, and I have Matt Jarrett here to answer any technical questions that you might have.
I move for approval.
Second.
Motion is second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Saberwater.
Aye.
Ms. Gales Harris.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shacklet.
Aye.
Mr. Wade.
Aye.
Mr. Wright.
Aye.
Mayor McFarland.
Aye. Thank you, Valerie. All right, let's move to your next item, Thompson Lane widening, revised easement offers.
Yes. As you all remember, I have been here several times regarding counteroffers from properties. Regarding our initial easement offers, those easement offers were using tax assessor's values, and these counteroffers are typically, most of them are based off of TDOT's offer to them for the property for the Thompson Lane widening. And so the counteroffers, there's 5 this month. They total $35,738 over what our initial offer was. And just to kind of give you all a recap, we are about halfway there with our easements. There was 100. We now have in the neighborhood of 50, either recorded or in the process. We are moving forward with appraisals for 33 that remain, and we received permission from TDOT to put a section of our sewer main within the road, which is about 4,300 feet in length, which omitted about 17 of the 100 easements. So the easement acquisition costs right now with these counteroffers today is $919,471, and we request approval for these counteroffers. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion is second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Saberwater.
Aye.
Ms. Gels Harris.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shacklet.
Aye.
Mr. Wade.
Aye.
Mr. Wright.
Aye.
Mayor McFarland.
Aye. All right, we have the second extension to the annual pavement marking contract with Pope Striping Corporation and Volunteer Paving. Lexi, Stacy.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. I'm here to request your approval for the second extension of the annual pavement marking contracts with Pope Striping and Volunteer Paving. These contracts support the installation and maintenance of roadway striping and crosswalks, turn arrows, and other similar projects. The original contracts were approved in February of 2024 and are renewable annually for up to 5 years. The proposed extension will cover January 2025 or 6 through January 2027. Per the contract terms, unit prices will increase by 3% in line with the Consumer Price Index, but all other terms remain unchanged. Funding will continue to come from state street aid, which is supported by our local share of the state's gasoline tax. And the engineering department has allocated around $350,000 towards pavement marking maintenance from state street aid. But we do also use this contract for CIP projects similar to Medical Center Parkway widening. Staff recommends your approval, and I'm here to answer any questions.
I move for approval.
Second.
Motion second, please call the roll.
Ms. Saberwater.
Aye.
Ms. Gels Harris.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shacklet.
Aye.
Mr. Wade.
Aye.
Mr. Wright.
Aye.
Mayor McFarland.
Aye. All right, construction contract awarded for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, State Route 1 Sidewalk Project, Phase 2.
This is the construction contract for Phase 2 of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, the sidewalk project that we're doing there. This phase will install new sidewalks, ADA compliant ramps, as well as other pedestrian improvements from Middle Tennessee Boulevard to just about Minerva. The first phase was completed in 2021, which was from Northwest Broad Street to Middle Tennessee Boulevard. Bids were received in September, and Capital City Construction Services was the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. The total contract amount is $2,138,564, which is around 10% under our engineer's cost estimate. The goal of this project is to aid pedestrians that are living in the nearby neighborhoods in accessing key destinations like Patterson Park and Hobgood, Bradley Academy, as well as transit centers. Funding is approximately 80-20 split, federal, state, and local dollars, and the local dollars will be coming from 2022 bond. Staff recommends approval, and I am here to answer any questions.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion second, please call the roll.
Ms. Saberwater.
Aye.
Ms. Gels Harris.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shacklet.
Aye.
Mr. Wade.
Aye.
Mr. Wright.
Aye.
Mayor McFarland.
Aye. All right, let's move to construction administration contract for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, Phase 2 Sidewalk Project.
Thank you. Finally, I'm requesting approval of amendment number 2 to the agreement with Neil Schaefer. This is for construction administration. These services help the city manage construction activities and ensure compliance and maintain quality throughout the project. Since this project includes state and federal funding, it must follow the TDOT local programs guidelines. And so it's essential that we have Neil Schaefer facilitate required documentation and reporting to ensure that we remain in compliance and are prepared for any future audits. The estimated cost of this contract is $206,616, and this funding is split 80-20 approximately, federal, state, and 2022 bond. Staff recommends approval, and I can answer any questions.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, please call the roll.
Ms. Saberwater.
Aye.
Ms. Gels Harris.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shacklet.
Aye.
Mr. Wade.
Aye.
Mr. Wright.
Aye.
Mayor McFarland.
Aye. All right, let's move to Board of Trustees and Committee on Contributions. This is reappointments of Ann Davis, Steve Flatt, and Rick LaLance. Want to make sure that everyone knows the term expirations are 11/17/2030 for Ann Steve and Rick. And then the committee members on contribution, that's Lynn Lynn and Lyle Lynch, reappointment, and their expiration is 12/8/2028 for both Lynn and Lyle.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, please call the roll.
Ms. Saberwater?
Aye.
Ms. Gels Harris?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shacklet?
Aye.
Mr. Wade?
Aye.
Mr. Wright?
Aye.
Mayor McFarland?
Aye, we'll move to item 32. This is disciplinary review board. This is an appointment with a vacancy left by Eric Merriweather, and Tina Perry is being recommended to fill that general requirement.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion is second, please call the roll.
Water?
Aye.
Ms. Gels Harris?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shacklet?
Aye.
Mr. Wade?
Abstain.
Mr. Wright?
Aye.
Mayor McFarland?
Aye. All right, we'll move to beer permits. You've got two regular permits, 2424 South Church Street, 1845 South Church Street. One's an ownership change, one's a new location. Two special event permits. Are these all in order?
Yes, all applicants have met our requirements, and we recommend for approval pending final building and code inspections.
Second.
Motion is second, please call the roll.
Ms. Saberwater?
Aye.
Ms. Gels Harris?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shacklet?
Aye.
Mr. Wade?
Aye.
Mr. Wright?
Aye.
Mayor McFarland?
Aye. We have one statement to be paid, Cherry Lane Phase 3B property settlement.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion is second, please call the roll.
Ms. Saberwater?
Aye.
Ms. Gels Harris?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shacklet?
Aye.
Mr. Wade?
Aye.
Mr. Wright?
Aye.
Mayor McFarland?
Aye. Any other business from staff? Meeting next week?
Yes, meeting next week.
Workshop.
Meeting next week, workshop, yes, 11:30.
Yep.
At the airport. And then we are not going to be, I sent out a schedule. Please look at that and let us know if you will not be making some of those meetings so we can ensure we have a quorum.
And I think Ms. Tig also emailed out calendar
Invites.
So, and Darren, I would probably say to Ms. Tig, I should have told you this, there's no reason to send one out if we're not having a meeting, just the.
You got the 17
I
emails
got
too
this-
the other
yeah,
day?
all the canceled ones, so just the ones where we have a meeting. So everyone will know if you don't get a calendar invite for a meeting, then we don't have one that day.
Got it.
Any other business from staff or council? I have one quick thing. This is more for our legal department. We had a resident that emailed us that lives on Medford Campbell in that area, and there seems to be a issue with semi-trucks parking in the street and semi-trucks parking in the driveways.
Okay.
So, and when I say a semi-truck, one was a semi-truck with a trailer, and another one is a semi-truck parking in the trailer, or in the driveway with no trailer. But our ordinance basically says that if it's 18,000 pounds or less, you can do that. I don't know how we measure that, but I'd like to see us look at something that basically says, in residential neighborhoods, commercial vehicles should, and when I say commercial vehicles, I'm meaning like anything that requires a CDL license to drive really is probably not a good idea to be able to allow somebody to park in their neighborhood. That would mean school buses parked in neighborhoods, semi-trucks, dump trucks. I mean, that's not what the intent of a residential neighborhood is, for someone to be able to park those. But Adam, if we could research that.
I'm writing a note to myself. And if
What we
there's anything.
What we typically are telling residents is like, hey, that's between you and your HOA.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that's a really fair response if your next door neighbor has got a semi-truck parked in their driveway. So,
If there's anything specific in that email that would be helpful, please feel to forward it to me.
yeah, I can forward it to you.
Would that recreational vehicles too? You know, some of them have the,
I don't think we've got an ordinance in place for campers and RVs, and I think that is regulated by the HOA. I don't think we can regulate that, as long as they can't live in it, which we have had happen from time to time, that people are living in.
yeah.
But I'll forward you the email. The email that we got, when you've got a semi-truck parked in a 24-foot wide street, that's probably not the best thing in the world if we were to have a fire or something like that. So, all right, Any other business? We'll stand adjourned.